Hey everyone, welcome to today's Chalk Talk. My name is Brock Galvin, and we are going coast to coast, cross country. On today's episode, we have the head coach at Oakdale High School. Welcome to the show, Kurt Stein. How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me, Brock. I'm excited to be on. Talk a little football.
Let's do it, man. I know we are. We're always itching for a little bit of chalk talk, given the times. And you have a pretty unique story. Doing some research before this and talking to you beforehand. You've been at Oakdale since the school opened, so over a decade. I was reading that your first season, I know you probably have heard it plenty of times, y'all went winless and naturally had a tough start. But 8 years later, 13-0, state title, and just a remarkable program that you've been able to build there. For those who haven't heard the story, what has that experience been like for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, basically the story of Oakdale High School is in 2010, the school opened up. It was this brand new school that was built due to growth in the area. So it drew from 3 other high schools that were close by, in Thomas Johnson High School, Ligonor High School, and Urbana High School. We opened with just 9th and 10th graders. And so we played the very first year the school was open, we only played a JV season, and we did okay. I think we were 6-2 or something like that. And so then we played the next year with no seniors. We only had juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. We went 0-10. And then the year after that, when we finally had 4 grades, we went 2-8. So we started 2-18, but we've had a winning record every season since then. In that third season, we did miss the playoffs by a couple points, but we've been in the playoffs every year since then. And like you said, varsity team number 8 did win the 2A Maryland State Championship. So it's been fun. It's been fun being the guy that's been there the whole time and being on both ends of that, being on the 0-10 and being on the undefeated. It's been awesome, and I'm really looking forward to the next 10, maybe more. I have a lot of fun coaching the program. It's been great to build it. I live in the community, and, I'm really happy here. I love it.
That's awesome. What do you kind of attribute the success to? What has made the program so successful ever since the beginning?
Well, I mean, I would say really there's 3 tiers there. One, we got great kids. Our community has good football players. The kids like it. They're committed to it. They can play. Obviously, the last few years, we've had some really outstanding football players. The second part is, I think the hardest part of becoming a new coach is building your staff. And we finally, over the first few years, built our staff to the point where we had really great people working in the program, people that care about kids, people that know a lot about football and that were committed to it in the time-wise. And so building those assistant coaches, getting other guys in place to help was humongous. And then the third part is, our kids have really, especially I'd say over the last 5 years, poured themselves into the off-season program and what we do from a weight room and a training perspective. Shannon Wallace is our strength and conditioning coach, and he works with all of our guys. And our guys have really done a good job of being bigger, faster, and stronger. And when we get to camp, we don't really condition anymore. We still lift weights, but we don't worry about conditioning because they're in such good shape coming into the season, and we feel like our practice is enough conditioning as it is. So we used to, back in the beginning times, have to do a lot of conditioning because we weren't there yet, but our kids come to camp ready to go. And so if you put all those things together, that helps you have a successful program, and that's what we've been able to do the last few years.
Yeah. So kids, coaches, off-season lifting. I know this is a time of year where you're either, for certain states, they're in spring ball right now or getting ready for it. But for majority of states, they're strength conditioning a whole bunch. Can't do it together. Can't do it together now. So I'm sure that a program of your stature has a plan in place, but what does that look like right now for strength conditioning when you're in a shelter at home?
So basically, we developed a workout routine the kids can do at their house without weights. So it's a lot of running, a lot of plyometrics, a lot of body weight stuff, and they got a workout that they're responsible to do every day. And they're sending me videos and pictures all the time of them doing it and saying that we'll be ready, coach. We're staying on top of it, coach. Send me videos of them out with their brother in their yard throwing and catching and, doing all those things. ultimately, we would prefer to all be together, and I would prefer to be there witnessing and making sure everything's getting done the right way. But right now it's on our kids to do as much as they can do on their own. Some of them do have weights and some weight room stuff in their house. And so they have all of our lifting stuff, and anything they can do it, they're doing it. And, we're just going to kind of go from there. As we can do more, we will adjust and figure out ways within the guidelines and safeties of whatever we're allowed to do to maximize it. And as much as it is, they're obviously not getting probably what they would normally get. We're every other team, everybody's kind of in the same boat. So it's just one of those things where it is what it is. And every time they give us new information, we'll adjust the workouts accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a group of coaches we have done a podcast with in the Sacramento region, and 4 very different schools, all very successful, but different demographics, SES, that sort of thing. 2 guys were power running, 2 guys were kind of spread air raid stuff. One of the coaches had 55 squat racks he sent to his players' houses so that they, I don't know, weird, interesting area. Good for him, but it makes you think about kind of competitive equity, which is always something we're talking about out here in California. How do you balance fair or not fair during a season when some kids have access to working out, home lives are different? Is that something that you talk about with your staff at all, or have you, been affected by that in one way or the other?
I mean, not really. We certainly don't have the resources to do anything like that and send guys stuff. I just figure it's not equitable, but there's no way to make it equitable. It's not something that we can control or even change. So there's not really any use of putting any effort or thought into it. Yes, within our own team and other teams, I'm sure, like I said, some guys are getting more. I know 3 of our players that have really extensive weight rooms in their house, and I know they're getting more than the guy that's not. But there's absolutely nothing you can do about it in an unprecedented time like this. So it's not something to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. Messaging is a big thing in coaching. What you're saying, how you're saying it, who you draw your inspiration from in terms of coaching philosophy. So I guess in this season, what are you messaging to your players? Are there mantras as a program that y'all are sticking to? And just talk to us about your coaching inspirations or philosophy and where you get those from.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the kids do, we've been in constant communication with them. Obviously, we always do have a mantra of the year that we kind of talk about in our first team meeting in August. As far as myself, I would say, like, my main coaching inspirations kind of come from 2 different places. As far as the way I want to coach the kids and the way I want to relate to the kids and the kind of coach and person that I want to be, I really draw a lot of my inspiration from a guy named Doug Williams, who was the Catoctin high school coach here in Thurmont, Maryland for 30 years. And my first 6 years out of college coaching, I was his assistant, and that's where I was before Oakdale High School opened. And he's a phenomenal football coach, but he is even a better man, and showed me all about how what really matters is the relationship with the kids and the impact that you can have on them and how you can really change their lives, not just winning and losing games, but of all the other stuff in between. And, he just retired this year after coaching for over 40 years. He went out on top. He won his 2nd state championship in his last game that he ever coached down there at Navy Memorial Stadium. So
That's
awesome. I was super happy to see that. But he's the guy that I would try to aspire to be. And I would say from an X's and O's standpoint, like you said, we're going to talk a little bit later, I guess, about our Ozone Offense, as we call it. But it's really based in a lot of what you saw Rich Rodriguez do when he was at West Virginia. The zone read is at the heart, and the no huddle and the tempo is at the heart of what we do. And I first learned it at coaching clinics in Morgantown when he was preaching about it. And really the nuts and bolts of our offense, the foundation still really lies in those concepts that we learned there at West Virginia.
We have a panel of coaches, and I was telling you earlier, all football guys who work for our company for the most part, but we have one guy who I was telling you, he's our rep out there, and he is a huge diehard West Virginia guy, but he played college basketball. He's not a football guy at all. Like he watches football and he's just following the ball, right? Like he's just, where's the ball going? But he is a huge West Virginia guy. So I'm excited to get his thoughts on your Rich Rod stuff because he's obsessed. The Steve Slaton, Pat White days are the glory days that he's always reminiscing. Who's your favorite? Do you have a college that you follow? Is it West Virginia?
I am from West Virginia, but I graduated from Marshall University. Yep. And so I follow them. I do follow West Virginia, and I've always followed Michigan a lot on the college front. I'm from the northern part of the state of West Virginia, which was in ABC's Midwest feed. So for whatever reason, at my house, every Saturday, I got the Big Ten game, which was usually Michigan at noon. So the Michigan, TV was different back then when we were kids. We didn't have every game on television, right? There was one on ABC and one on CBS, and that was it. And so the game on ABC was almost always Michigan when I was a little kid, and so I always kind of liked them and followed them.
That's awesome. I grew up in the generation of like ESPN game plan just starting, but they only had like 10 or 15 games on. And so it was every week you got the Hawaii game at like 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And so me and my dad would stay up late and watch Timmy Chang throw the ball around the yard. And I just grew up on random college football out here in California. It's different. We get now, like you're saying, you can watch whatever you want, but the original ESPN game plan, you got some weird games.
Yeah, man. Timmy Chang and June Jones in the run and shoot, right?
Oh, yeah,
running back then.
That was fun stuff. That was definitely fun stuff. Before we get into some chalk, we'll do the 2-minute drill, man. I got a few little questions for you, rapid fire, 10 or 15-second answers, and we'll see what you come up with and how much you share. 'Cause some of them you gotta share some of the secrets of the playbook and favorite players and whatnot. So we'll start. What is your favorite play? I feel like I'm teasing the episode here, and why?
Zone read. Inside zone read is that's our first play that we put in every year in practice. We have about 15 versions of inside zone the way we run it, but your standard inside zone out of a 20 personnel look, that's our number one play.
Love it, man. Nightmare for defenses. Favorite aspect of a Friday night during football season?
There's so many. I think the thing that always gets the hair up on the back of my neck is we're very fortunate at Oakdale to have good support in the crowd and gigantic student sections. And during the national anthem, when the O hits, they all in unison barrel out that O for Oakdale. And I know it's coming, but every single time in the middle of that national anthem, when those kids blast that out, I get goosebumps every single time. That always lets me know that it's time to go. And we're very fortunate to have all those hundreds and hundreds of kids up there. So it's a cool thing.
I love it. Any school that personalizes the national anthem, there's a school that we played that was the Braves. They were the Braves. And so, and the end of the national anthem and the home of the Braves, the whole stadium erupts in it. And same thing. I'm a marching band guy.
That's marching band's good. Our kids actually hit it with home of the Bears when we're at home.
I like it. Nothing like the national anthem, man. Nah. That's like the calm before the storm. So, fun stuff. Favorite thing about coaching in one sentence?
It's the building the relationships with kids. I mean, that's what Doug Williams taught me, as we talked about earlier when I first got into it. And I thought it was all about trying to win the game. And he taught me about how to make an impact on the kids. And we have lifelong relationships that you build with those kids, that we're in a unique situation and a unique opportunity to impact them in a different way and form a different relationship with them. And, I'm still very close with almost all the kids that have ever played for us. And I mean, that's by far the best part.
That's awesome. Favorite player? I know this one's hard to answer for some guys, but first guy that comes to mind. You can have many, but who's the first guy that comes to mind?
I got two. I gotta have a tie, man. I like, oh gosh, like I said, I love them all. But when we won our first state championship, that was the end of a long journey, as you alluded to a little bit in the hard beginning, and we had a really special quarterback that I was very, very close with named Collin Schlee, that he's a quarterback at Kent State right now. And, we had a really tight bond, and, we were on the same page, and he helped guide that offense in the true vision that we wanted to run it in. And we became incredibly close through it. So him, and then JMU's starting tailback is a kid named Percy Obase. And he's a kid from Ghana that had never played football before high school before. And watching him go from, he literally did not understand why we punted the ball. Like, he had to stop, and he wouldn't know why we were giving the ball to the other team. So he was a first team all-conference, third team all-American tailback last year in Division I college. To watch that transition was pretty cool. So I'm going to give it a tie to those two guys.
FCS football, I love it, man. James Madison.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look him up. That's pretty awesome. Last one, and then we'll chalk it up. Best pregame meal, or your routine pregame meal.
I am as routine oriented as any person you will ever find. I have a lunch takeout Philly chicken cheesesteak from Pasquale's in Newmarket every single Friday. Big sandwich. It's delicious, and I know that I'm going to eat lunch, and then I'm not going to eat again until Frank film breakdown at Coach LeCicero's house at about 11:30 at night. So I eat a big lunch to make sure I can get there, and it's always the chicken Philly from Pasquale's. That's my move. Man,
you're making me miss Friday nights, the traditions and watching film late afterwards with the staff. That's so cool. Well, go ahead and share your screen with us, or if you want to chalk it up on the whiteboard there, start breaking down some zone read, and we'll see what you got.
Wait, hold on. My fault.
You're good.
Actually, if I just do the whiteboard, I don't need to share, right? I'm good?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Okay, so I guess, like I said, we got a lot of versions of inside zone read. I know it's a play that a lot of people run, but the basics in it. I'll take you through two different looks here. Our real basic looks, two of the first ones that we'll put in to deal with two different boxes. So if you got your standard 6-man box, any type of 6-man box, obviously when we run it, first off, this is our rabbit formation. If we were going to run it to the right, we would actually put the B back over here. Our B back is like a fullback type player, H back. Sometimes he's more tight end, sometimes he's more fullback, sometimes he's more tailback. It just kind of depends on what we have. Our A is our tailback, our C is our slot. So we'll always have different RPOs with it from week to week. Our standard RPO would be your simple bubble screen to the slot receiver. All right. So the quarterback will stay on that bubble all the way up to the point that he's got the ball in his hands. If he likes it, he's got the green light to throw it at any time. If he doesn't like it, then he'll get into a standard zone read type play. So obviously, if you had your 6-man box, we got two covereds here. So the first guy's going to be by himself. He's covered and he's uncovered, so they're going to be the first double team. The first double team's obviously going to work to the linebacker number 1. We'll always number our backers play side to backside in the box. We won't number anybody outside the box. Second here, he's covered, and we got an automatic uncovered on the backside because that's going to be your read man on the last guy. So again, no double team to the second linebacker in the box. We got the inside zone pass by our tailback, and he's what we try to teach him is, depending on the fronts, especially an even front, he's kind of an AAB player. So he's going to press front side A first, kind of a tight inside zone, and he'll work his way back to the backside B or even backside C, depending on how much we get going. On this particular play in this set, we would arc our B back for the quarterback keep. And basically, he's going to try to take care of any type of scrape exchange. So if we get an end crash and then he's going to exchange it, that fullback will take care of that. Or any kind of safety trying to get his hat down into the box late. People do a lot of different things with us with the quarterback, depending on almost all of the quarterbacks we've ever had have been very, very good runners, which is another reason why we run our Ozone Offense, which is in the zone read so much because our quarterbacks run the ball so well. So we'll get different looks of them trying to account for the quarterback. So we do use cruisers and different alley players to try to protect him at times. So that's probably our basic inside zone play right there. And then I'll give you one more when they bring the 7th man in the box that we like to run. So we still get a lot of 7-man box, a lot of 50 front. There's still a lot of teams that are 3-4, 5-2 based around here that will try to bring all of them down and make it into a 5-2 type look. So we'll get some boxes that look like this a lot of times with a little eagle down, 2 backers in the box type look. And then a lot of times that will bring more of a cover 3 to us. Because one thing teams have learned against us is if you don't honor the slot guys, we're going to bubble screen you and that kind of stuff to death. So we don't get uncovered receivers very often. We don't get 2 to 3 on trips and stuff like that very often because we will perimeter screen it. And a lot of times it will just be like we're talking about here from an RPO standpoint from the snap. So again, we can run our standard bubble on this one. We have a multitude of different RPOs that we'll pair all these with, slants and glances and stuff like that, try to see what teams are trying to do to us. But if we have a 7-man box now we're going to incorporate that B-back into the blocking scheme to try to even up our math. So we have lots of different versions, but one of our favorites is what we call our lead zone read. And so what our lead zone becomes is that fullback is now responsible for that linebacker number 1, sort of like an ISO type. So a lot of people call that like an insert zone or things of that nature. So again, he's covered, automatic uncovered on the back. So they'll double team to that second linebacker. And then we got our zone read concept again here. Again, the quarterback doesn't have the cruiser, but the way the math works out is if they have 7 in the box, they don't really have anywhere to get the extra player from. They can't get an overhang player. They can't, if they can't go true too high because there's nobody on their slot and he's got no help. We've had teams try to do that before, but what's happened is this matchup right here has become a serious issue from them, and we'll get them there. So that's our lead zone read, and the first one was our standard zone read. So those are probably our 2 most basic day 1 plays that we talk about.
Love it. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, what's 2020 gonna hold for? Let's say the season starts early or starts on time. What's the program gonna be looking like? Expectations for the season for you guys?
Well, we bring back 4 of our 5 starting offensive linemen, so I think that's probably where we're going to start. We're going to start with the big guys up front. We have some very good offensive linemen coming back. A couple guys I think will be college guys. So we're going to start with them. We graduate a lot of our skill guys, but we had some really young, good skill guys that made some impact last year, plays for us. So we think they can fill the role, but we're going to start with the big guys up front, run the football a little bit, and kind of build it out from there. We have a very good defensive line as well, and I think our secondary is going to be very strong. So hopefully the defense will be good like it usually is, and we can run the football a little bit, hit them with some tempo, get that zone read going. That's what we're hoping to do as long as we get a chance to be out there. Yeah,
definitely. Well, thanks for hopping on the show, man. Appreciate it. I know it's not what we want to be doing ultimately, but it's better than just sitting at home and watching Netflix. I know that talking to so many coaches, we want to be out on the field, want to be with our kids, but soon it will happen. But thanks for coming on again, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, Brock. It's a cool thing you guys are doing. We're all, like you said, we're all craving for content and a little bit of football right now. So anything we can get is good. So I appreciate what you're doing for everybody out there. And anytime you need me, let me know, man.
Sweet, man.